Hey everybody, so today we have kind of a organizing day today to do. Yesterday and the day before that you have been spending time researching, finding information. Today we're going to organize those notes and turn them into a plan for writing. And we're all making an informational writing piece, and so we need an informational writing plan, which is something we've used several times this school year. So I wanted to show you my notes, how I'm going to kind of start organizing my notes, and then how just to get started on your informational planner. But you've done it so much that I know that you're going to be fine with it. And I wanted to show you another trick that if you wanted to use the online one, you can just simply make a copy of the planner and start just typing it in if you want to. Or what we normally would do is we would take a piece of paper and we would make that plan happen on the paper. So it's going to be up to you. All right, so let me go ahead and get started. I'll show you my screen. So I have my notes. I took a picture of it so I can show you some things we're going to do with it. So you were supposed to have had 3 sources. And so one of the sources could be the textbook, which is totally fine. And so what we're doing today is we're going to look at what we took notes on, yourself, whatever you took notes on, and decide if we want certain pieces of the information we took notes on. We may not want some of it. And then we might want some other pieces of it. So I have 2 sources of notes here, but I could also have my third one. I just didn't have a chance to write that one in. But what you're going to be doing is we can highlight some things. I'm going to try to change my pen a little bit. Okay, so my research prompt or my research question, actually let me open up our project. It's a lot of stuff in here, isn't it? Goodness. Here we go. Okay. I want to show you what step we're on this project before I actually start. That would be helpful. Okay, so just a quick reminder. These are the questions that you guys came up with. Just some ideas. And we are pretending that we are oceanographers. Come on. We are pretending that we are oceanographers in California, and we are raising awareness for our topic, which just means we're educating people around us about our topic. We're teaching people about the information. That's what it means, basically. So I will be grading pieces of this, meaning I'm going to give you feedback on pieces of this to tell you how well you did. And then, so we are right here. Let me see. Hello, come on. There. We did that yesterday and the day before that. And so today, we're here. Okay? So there is an informational planner linked here. That's the same one that I have open. Let me show you on this page where we're at. So step 1 was research. Choose a topic. Done. My topic that I chose that is different than everybody else's is why are the oceans salty? Okay. Begin researching using Kindle and Google. Done. Take notes on key details from all sources. Done, as you can see from my notes over there. So now we're on step 2 right now. We're going to review our notes and find common themes. So we're going to be finding some basic information that we could possibly use as a main idea. And then also today, we're going to be using the informational writing plan. We're going to make one. Okay? Next week is where we start on the bottom steps there, step 5 through 8. All right, so that's where we're at. As a reminder, these are what we're making. That we'll have more information about that next week. Okay, so when I did my research, I used keywords like this. This is my question, why are oceans salty? I used Kindle and I used these types of keywords and I took notes. So this step right here is done. Now moving over here, use an informational writing plan. That's what we're going to make right now. That's also another link that'll take you to the same place. And then when we are actually starting to write, which will happen next week, we can use a rubric to make sure that we are writing a quality informational essay. Okay. So right here, this is where we're at, right there. But your questions should be one of these other slides. So hopefully you use these to help you and guide you as you did your own research, because I provided some ideas for keywords for your searching. There's others you can use, but I just kind of gave you guys some to get you started. Okay, so let me go back to my planner. All right, so now taking a look at my notes. Remember my question was, why are the oceans salty? So some things that I learned from the sources that I found, that ions from the rocks are carried away from within the rivers. So the ions are little particles that might happen due to erosion. So the rocks kind of coming apart in tiny, tiny particles. And then that in those little tiny particles are ions, which would be tiny, tiny pieces of, could be a mixture of different things. And so according to this source, it mentioned that there's chloride and sodium, and that's 90% of what the ions are. So mostly it's sodium and chloride that are coming off of those rocks. And so it's going from the rivers and breaking apart in the rivers, which is fresh water, but it's breaking apart and it's floating through and going down through the oceans. But it's been doing that for millions of years or thousands of years, depending on how old the river is and how much water there was. But that's been happening over and over and over again. So it's just like depositing or dropping off all this salt all the time, and for a long time. So then I'm looking at those notes and I'm like, I think that I can tell that this is all talking about the runoff from the oceans. I feel like that's maybe a common theme. I kind of want to make sure I include that detail. I don't have a highlighter with this, so I'm just going to underline it. And this detail right here. This is what it's made up from. That first one, possibly, just maybe a piece of it. I might mention it. But I'm feeling like this common theme, I might say just a main idea for this piece. I might even say that it comes from rocks, and then it goes into the rivers and to the ocean. So my idea is that my main idea sentence for this particular topic here, this common theme, is the idea that it's coming from the rocks. Okay. My other source, it talks about, it's from nasa.gov. You know how I feel about the NASA source. It's very reliable. Salt makes water heavy, and so it makes the salt sink, and then heat makes water lighter, and so then it can rise. And so I'm going to say that I'm noticing, I think that those are both important, so I'm going to use all of that. But I would say a common theme here would be the weight. Heavy versus light. So how the weight is changing. Okay, so I'm just noticing that there's a common pattern here. Just so happened that it was two different sources. So sometimes I notice that a lot of you like to have like different paragraphs per source, like maybe all the first source in one paragraph, a different source in another paragraph. So that's all okay too. And then my final source here I didn't have notes about, but that came from our text, because on our last 2 pages of our text that also mentioned there. So then I would be able to do that with my third source as well. So now I'm ready to go ahead and look at my planner and start thinking about what I would be putting in my informational writing plan, because now I have my notes, I have my research, now I have to put it all together into a plan. So if I'm looking at my introduction paragraph, we usually have 3 sentences there, right? We have a hook. We have, in the sources we reviewed, and we talk about our sources and just the basic information we got from there. And then the main idea of the entire essay. That main idea of the whole essay will more than likely be something similar to your topic or your question, just turn into a main idea statement. So my hook, I have to decide on a hook. Like if I'm talking about, for me, my salty oceans, right? Have you ever wondered why the oceans are so salty? Or have you been to the beach and realized that you can't drink the water there because of the salt? I don't know, something like that. So if you're going to use the informational writing plan digitally, you can, I know you only have view-only access, you can go up to File, make a copy. When you make a copy, you're going to get your very own. So let me go ahead and make a copy, just to show you that anything in Google Docs, you can make a copy and it's now you have your own. Okay, so just because you have view only, you don't need to request access. You can make your own copy of it and do whatever you want with it. So this is my copy of it. And so for me to write on here though, this line is taking up my typing space. So if I erase it, let me see what happens. Okay, now I can actually type. So have you ever tried to drink the water at the beach. It's quite salty, isn't it? Oops, not C. Isn't it? And then my, in the source of review, this sentence here, part of it is already there for us, but I need to erase these lines here if I'm going to type it. In the sources we've reviewed, or I might even say I've reviewed, but I'll leave it like that. The authors explain the reasons why the ocean has so much salt in it. Right? That's what I noticed from all of my sources. And then my main idea of my essay is, this one sometimes is tricky, because then you have to formulate formulate that main idea of everything you're going to talk about in this whole paper, right? Give me a second, let me think about it. Wait, hold on 1 second. All right, so if I said something like, the salt is concentrated in the ocean because of several factors. I like that. Let me just reread it to make sure it makes sense, because if it doesn't flow well, then maybe I need to change one of those. Have you ever tried to drink the water at the beach? It's quite salty, isn't it? In the sources we reviewed, the authors explain the reasons why the ocean has so much salt in it. The salt is concentrated in the ocean because of several factors. And then my other 2 paragraphs are going to be what I've decided from my notes. Okay, so when I say on the first yellow, there's a main idea in parentheses right there. That piece, I'm not going to need to write it if I can think about it from my notes, because I have it over there, the rocks, rivers, oceans. And then the other one would be heavy versus light. That's kind of like the main idea, but I need to turn it into a sentence. So right here, that's why it says turn main idea heading into a complete sentence. So if I erase this, it already says, first of all, the ocean, no. No. First of all, I'm going to say rocks are broken down and carry away through rivers. For example, so here again, these lines right here I need to erase if I'm going to type it. For example, and I'm going to cite my source, in Florida Keys I think this is how you spelled it. I can't read my own writing right now. I'll have to check it later. For example, no, I would say according to, sorry, the author, oh my goodness. The author explains that rocks break down into ions, including chloride and sodium. And I can add another sentence here that explains more about that in my own words. I've already cited the source, so I'm going to say more. This makes up 90% of the ions in the ocean. See how that's like my other detail there? I'm going to choose to add more to this because I have more to say. So I'm just going to push enter. I don't need to add another red dot. I'm just going to keep on going. These rocks break down and are carried away I want to use the word via, but I don't know if you guys are used to that word. Carried away via the river. Rivers. And rivers lead to the ocean. Over time, so I'm just adding more because I have more to say. Over time, and after rivers have continued to do this for, I'm going to say millions. No, I'll say thousands. Thousands of years. Over time, after rivers have continued to do this for thousands of years, the ocean has a large collection of salt. Done. See all those extra spaces? I'm going to erase some of these. Okay. So as a complete paragraph, this is my first sentence, and then this is the rest of it in that one paragraph. If you want to, you can put, like for me, my notes said rocks, rivers, ocean. That was my main idea that I wanted to talk about, and that's how I turned it into that. I guess I could have done that in the beginning. Sorry about that. All right, so that's how I would turn my notes into my planner, and I would do the same thing with the other source of my other main idea that I've created. And then if you have a third paragraph you want to make, you can always add another paragraph here. So you can add another section. If you're doing it on paper, you just draw yourself another box there. But if you want to use the digital one, if I do a right click or a 2-finger click on my Chromebook, and you have all these options, right? And I go insert row below, it's going to give you another row. And so you can just go ahead and make that happen, right? But that's just if you wanted a third paragraph. You don't have to write a third paragraph, but if it makes sense for you and your notes and your explanation, go for it. Okay? All right, and then the final concluding paragraph, as you can see, this is where you're going to have the main idea restated, maybe in a slightly different way. So my main idea up at the top here, the salt is concentrated in the ocean because of several factors. As you can see, our oceans are salty because of, I'm going to even use the word erosion. Erosion and the levels, the second paragraph, which I did not use to model with you, but you know from my notes, it talked about the weight difference in the amount of salt. Depends on the temperature of the water. The levels of salt is also dependent on the temperature of the water. So that would have come more for my second paragraph. Okay, so I'm kind of using this conclusion to wrap up everything that I just talked about. Okay, so you've done this before. I just wanted to model for you again how to turn your notes into a writing plan. Next week, all of this information from my writing plan will go into whatever format you're planning to use, slides or a doc or a digital poster. So don't worry about that till next week. So you're not working on that yet. You're just making your plan for it. Okay, so let me know if you have any other questions. I think, I'm sorry that this thing was there the whole time. Didn't realize that Welcome to Miss Hodges 5th grade class was there the whole time. Sorry. I wonder if I can screenshot. I don't know if I can. Okay. Well, hopefully this helps. If you need to see it again, go for it. Or I might even take a screenshot of the planner. We'll see. I'll try something. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.